Declarations of interest. We've all filled in, I think, our declaration of interest forms, and we've made comments in this here. Are there any other declarations of interest? Minutes of the previous meeting. Members want to turn the pages, or just do it by exception. Mark, you want any comments on minutes?
I've got no comments on this.
Ian? Right, I'll sign them. Questions from the members of the public. We have got 8 questions from members of the public, all are about agenda item 6, so I propose to take them at the time of agenda item 6.
So if I go through how the Assembly does its meeting, questions from members of the public, we had 3 public questions submitted, 2 of which were taken under the agenda item 6. And the third question did not relate to an item on the agenda, and we asked if they would like to resubmit at the following meeting when it will be relevant, which they agreed to do. Item 2 was Camborne to Cambridge Better Bus Journey Scheme. An amendment to the first recommendation proposed by Councillor Bridget Smith. Following discussions, the Joint Assembly unanimously supported the amended first recommendation and the original second recommendation to the Executive Board. So we agreed, based on the considerations in the report, to undertake further public consultation on the park and ride options and route alignments identified in Appendix 4 for the Camborne to Cambridge Better Bus Journey Scheme as part of the ongoing development of the full outline business case. And the amendment is subject to a further meeting with the LLF technical group to further refine option 6. And the consultation included further detail on the connectivity to key employment sites and on the connection to the M11, subject to work with Highways England, and we agreed to the timetable in the report. Officers agreed to undertake the latter 2 parts of the first amendment as a matter of course in preparing for the formal consultation, but they remain detailed for Executive Board to be aware of. Item 3, Western Orbital, the Joint Assembly unanimously supported the 5 recommendations to the Executive Board contained in the report, and there were no proposed amendments. Item 4 was developing a 10-year 2020 to 2030 future investment strategy. The Joint Assembly agreed unanimously to support the recommendations to the Executive Board. Joint Assembly members were enthusiastic about our big soft conversation detailed in the report and wanted to be actively engaged. And as Chair, I'm encouraging Assembly members to take part in as many of the engagement opportunities as they see fit, to share throughout their networks and encourage people to feedback, either face-to-face or online. On item 5, skills, developing the Greater Cambridge Partnership ambition, Councillor Bridget Smith proposed an alternative recommendation, which was to agree to withdraw the report, enable the skills working group to refine the proposal and bring back to the November Joint Assembly. There was considerable debate amongst the Joint Assembly members, I think it's fair to say, with opinions on both the original recommendation and, of course, the alternative recommendation. A vote was then taken by the Joint Assembly, first on Councillor Smith's amendment, with 7 votes for and 6 against, thus resulting in the amended recommendation to the Executive Board that we agree to withdraw the report, enable the Skills Working Group to refine the proposal and bring back to the November Joint Assembly. Item 6 was the City Deal Quarterly Progress Report, which the Joint Assembly supported all 3 recommendations to the Executive Board, which were agreed unanimously and are contained in the report. And that's it, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Rice, that very comprehensive report. Thank you. Mark, do you have any questions on that? What's put together?
No, Chair, I don't.
Yeah.
Yes, on item 2A, it talks about their technical group. Who is on that group of colleagues? I'm happy for somebody else to go in with the answer. Okay, but I think it will be important for the records to know who precisely is on that group, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Smith, you probably know.
Can I defer to my colleague here who is on it and
Yeah.
the detail?
So I'm on at Gable Fox from Carpen Parish Council. Rod Cantrell, City Councillor. Steve Jones from Bourne Parish Council, and Helen Bradford, the chair of the LLF.
4 people.
Four people.
And all those 4 are members of the LLF.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? No. There is 300 questions. But, great. To effect that, and when we come to each individual agenda item, if you want to add in anything, so just let us know. So that'd be very kind. So if we move now to the first substantive item, which is item number 6, Cambridge South German scheme. As I've said, we've got 8 questions from the public, and I propose that we'll do what we've done before, which is we ask each individual member of the public to come up, ask the question, we'll have all 8 questions, ask one after the other, and then in the officer presentation we'll get them answered. I'm going to just tell you the order in which I'm going to ask people to come up. I don't think there's anything particular about the order. Firstly, Kathy York. Secondly, Chris Carpen. Third, Ellen Kamenetsky. Fourth, Carolyn Posgate. Fifth, Alan Treacy. Sixth, Alison Burford. Seventh, Dr. Marilyn Treacy. Eighth, Stephen Coates. So if we start with Kathy York. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I'm going to do the LLF chair first. And actually got the LLF vice chair. So I'm sorry, Kathy, we'll just have the LLF vice chair first. Apologies.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, I wanted to make this really short and snappy, but the more I worked on it, the less short and snappy it got, I'm afraid. So I'm going to get the moaning bit out of the way first. 49 reports to read in a week is unreasonable in anyone's book. Please, can reports be released as they are, as they come in? It was really, really hard work to do this, and I think the Assembly members probably felt the same as the LLF members. The actual report itself was quite thin, and if you haven't read the 49 reports underneath it, actually you didn't have enough information to base your thoughts on. On this subject, you don't need me to tell you that for a £200 million project there has to be a balance between timeline and thoroughness. And as I said, the 49 reports to reviewed in a week is unreasonable and could just lead to errors and inaccuracies and other issues that will compromise with decision making. The LLF members are, this is the second note, and after that there won't be any more. The LLF members are disappointed to hear that they're being viewed rather negatively by the GCP. Helen at the Assembly was at great pains to point out that we, as much as anyone, want our residents to be able to get to work and leisure cheaply, quickly and reliably. The LLF aren't telling people to go away, and they're not trying to block progress. So I can elaborate by saying, what do we want? As I'm sure you do, we want the best decisions to be based on all the relevant decisions. Given the proximity of major new information, specifically the mass transit assessment sponsored by GCP and the CA, it's absolutely sensible to consider waiting for that information rather than pressing on to spend taxpayers' money on detailed evaluation of options that may conflict with that. And we would welcome a distinction being made between cheaper short-term and more expensive long-term solutions, which will acknowledge the urgency of some of the interventions, but allow for the later incorporation of these schemes that we know are in the future. So characterising this as negatively and as some type of sort of head in the sand or go-away attitude is unfair. It's not what we want. So on to more positive things of the resolution of the LLF, which I know have been circulated to you. We absolutely welcome the decision to drop Crone Lee as a park and ride site, but we fail to see why the waterworks, only 400 metres away, is materially less damaging and undesirable, given that it's still located after the start of congestion, can still be seen as a blot on the landscape from many miles around, and is still not directly accessible from the A428 in either direction. I should just like to add a more positive note. We were very encouraged by the presentation at the LLF meeting from the consultant, who's Mr. Baker, I think it was, who was working on the Carpen assessment, he came across as very open, honest and receptive, and we could do with a bit more of that, because it does contrast somewhat to some of the other presentations from people who remain nameless. The amendments proposed and unanimously accepted by the Assembly and well presented by Councillor Price support a number of the resolutions of the LLF, and that's really very encouraging to us. As Councillor Price has mentioned, one was to urgently facilitate a one-off meeting with the LLF's technical group to look at how to optimise option 6 so that it can be fairly assessed against options 3A and 1. The ideal would have been, from my point of view, would have been further programme works and meetings, but we accept the serious time constraints. And should the board be minded to accept their own Assembly's amendment, we will do our very best to make sure that the time is used profitably and productively. The Assembly also, as you've heard, asked for further information to be presented on the journeys and routes to major employment sites and for further detail of the connection to the M11. And Rachel Stuppard assured us that that's actually work that's going to be happening anyway, so that's encouraging. We do have 3 other areas of concern. There is an anomaly in the figures presented for baseline off-peak journey times, which we would welcome you looking at again, as we don't agree with the data in the report, in which the detailed journey time estimates are provided based on bus speed assumptions for different kinds of roads.
Sorry, can you just punch out? Thank you. Because there was an anomaly.
Okay, right, there's an anomaly in the figures presented for baseline off-peak journey times, which we would welcome you looking at again, as we don't agree with the data in the report, in which the detailed journey time estimates are provided based on bus speed assumptions for the different types of road. These estimates calculate that the off-peak journey time between Camborne and Grange Road for the on-road options 1 and 6 will be between 26 and 30 minutes. Now, there's already a commercial bus service flying that route, the City 4, and that service has no bus priority measures apart from a few yards out west of the M11, 14 stops to navigate, and it still manages to do the journey in 18.5 minutes. So 26 minutes to 30 minutes, as opposed to what it's actually doing, 18.5 minutes, and has a 99% reliability record according to the actual hit centre. So how is it then possible that an optimised on-road service using an uncongested A428 dual carriageway and segregated online bus priority measures to within half a mile of Grange Road could be so much slower? So although the peak hour journey time is more important, we acknowledge that, because this was off-peak, the off-peak time is an essential baseline. And if that is grossly inaccurate, then it does call into question the underlying assumptions. And if these assumptions are corrected to ensure they're in line with real journey time data, then the difference in journey time from Camborne to Grange Road between the off-road scheme and the best on-road scheme becomes no more than 3 to 4 minutes, even at peak time. And when the remainder of the journey to the city centre or to other important employment centres is taken into account, even that small difference could well evaporate. So the second concern is that we share the concerns which were expressed at the Assembly regarding the issue of onward travel from Grange Road. And we know there is a report in the 49 about this, but there's not much detail there. And we really think it is critical that concrete information on onward journeys to the city centre, the CBC and the science park, including credible journey times, is provided within the next consultation documentation, so that people can provide informed feedback, as it is that they're providing feedback on half a scheme. So that's an important point. And the third point, which I'm sure you will hear about more in the questions that come after me, is that there was a robust discussion about environmental impact and the risk that a busway through the Greenbelt, that it would create a barrier to wildlife and block existing wildlife corridors. Now, I accept that environmental impact can mean different things to different people. And I would encourage you to ensure that the assessment is not too narrow, that it doesn't just look at habitats and flora and fauna, but at the wider impact. So please, could you consider drawing in as much independent expertise as possible, involving organisations such as CPRE, Joint Nature Conservation Committee and others, to avoid meta accusations of differing interpretations of what negative environmental impact means. There's also an elephant in the room, which is the potential for a busway to landlock areas of greenbelt in such a way that we will not be able to argue against further development. It may well be that this land will be developed in due course, but we all of us must ensure that this development is by design and not merely consequential to a busway. This is something, we've always been saying all along. So to wrap up, just two questions that I appreciate answers to today, if people have the information. Number one is, why are the option 6 journey times so much higher than those currently being achieved by the City 4? And the second question is really a request. Will the executive...
Sorry, there's some music. £5. We made the rule last time. That's £5 to my charity, which is Red Balloon and Centres.
You're very unlikely, it's £10 for councillors and our council meetings. And
Why are the option 6 journey times?
Right, so much higher than those currently being achieved by the City 4. Okay. And second is a request really. Will the Executive Board ask that the LLF be included in the design and approval of the questions to be asked of the public in the next round of consultation? I would suggest that this would head off any criticism afterwards about impartiality, fairness and balance of the consultation. Thank you very much indeed. That wasn't too long.
Can I summarise? I think you made 5 points and 2 questions, and I'll just summarise them. I think your first point is, why is the waterworks so included? Your second one is wanting the LLF technical group to meet with officers. Your third one is the anomaly of the calculation of the off-peak baseline journey times. Your fourth one is onward journey times from Grange Road.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Rachel, has kind of agreed. Yes.
And your fifth one is the environmental impact of off-road.
Yes, and the request that the LLF can be involved in the design.
And then that led you to 2 questions. Actually, yes, there's a slight overlap. Why is option 6 journey time so much higher than the City 4? And your second question, the LLF is included in the design and approval of the public questions going into the consultation. So, before we leave, does anyone have any questions for the Vice Chair of the LLF? Yes. Yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you.